Friday night edition of the Anaheim Calling podcast. We're back, folks, after 3 days off. It felt like a long time. It felt like we were off for much longer than that, but we weren't. And we've got a pretty fun game to talk about tonight. The Ducks taking on the Washington Capitals at Honda Center, losing this one 3-2 in a pretty exciting game. Probably disappointing if you're a Ducks fan, but I think that there's at least some reasons to feel decent about this game.
There's a lot of positives to take away. I think if you're a Ducks fan, I know it's probably not going to make a whole lot of people happy for me to say this, but this is a moral victory of a game. This is a game.
Don't use that term.
This is a game where you can highlight the process and focus on some things as very positive, because I've said this probably every podcast this season, but this Ducks team, probably not a cup contender. Potentially not even a playoff team.
Yeah, you might have to start downgrading that statement.
I mean, yeah, seriously. But I think so. Every game needs to almost be assessed through that lens, through that perspective. And the wins and losses aren't necessarily the most important part. It's how they played, the process, what they did in this game. I mean, what was it? Heyo DFLO said this was one of their best games of the year. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it was definitely a very good game where they held their own against a very good Caps team. I mean, you and I were talking about it before we started going live, or before we went live, but this is, I mean, you asked me the question, are the Caps the best team in the league? I don't personally think so. I think Boston's probably better. But they're up there.
Yeah. No, the Capitals are a very good team, and I would probably argue that the Ducks played a better game when they played the Capitals in Washington, D.C., but this was still a good game from Anaheim. I mean, Josh Manson is not back yet, although per some reporting by Eric Stevens of The Athletic, it certainly seems like he is nearing a return. He's going to be joining the team on their upcoming 2-game road trip, so that's obviously pretty significant.
Good news.
He's coming back soon. But going into tonight's game, really not a whole lot of roster changes. During the week, we saw Max Jones sent down to San Diego. We saw Max Comtois called back up, and we saw Josh Mahura called up as well. In addition to that, Jacob Larson was sent down last weekend. I'm not sure if we actually had a chance to cover that. But regardless, some fluctuation there. Comtois not in the lineup tonight. Neither was Josh Mahura. So we'll see if we do, in fact, see them in Anaheim's lineup. But Max Jones sent down apparently to work on his penalty killing, Jake. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I don't buy it.
You don't buy it?
I don't buy it.
Well, I'll jump in really quickly here, because what I find interesting about this is that so often we see guys get sent down and there's really no explanation. It's just, okay, well, I don't understand this. And then we yearn for coaches explaining to us why things happen. So Dallas Eakins may be thinking, oh, well, people just want to know something. I'll tell them something. Told the media that he wants to see Max Jones work on his penalty killing. And Max Jones hasn't really been on the penalty kill in Anaheim at all this season. He's been playing quite well. So to use that reasoning to just send him down to the AHL, it seems a little flimsy, to say the least.
Let me at least provide both sides of the argument here, because I think you and I are on the same side.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with sending him down, but that reason specifically just seems questionable.
But I think, because a podcast where you and I both agree isn't always the most fun, so let me at least provide the other side of the argument on this, which is, in the NHL, it's a bit more of a pressure cooker. There's the fact of you don't really have the time to develop your game as much as you do in the AHL. You're not able to work on things, so they could have potentially sent him down to specifically work on penalty killing, work on other. There are probably other things that they wanted him to work on.
Yes.
But they wanted him to work on the penalty killing also. Now, here's where that kind of devolves for me, and that argument doesn't really hold weight, is the fact that you could very easily have him kill penalties in the NHL and learn it in the NHL because, yes, it is a bit of a pressure cooker. Yes, there is there's a lot more going on, a lot more situations, that better players, all that different type of stuff. But the Ducks, as we've said, aren't in a position where they're competing for a cup this season. You could easily put him out there on the penalty kill. I mean, let me check the notes. Let me see. Derek Grant, Carter Rowney, big penalty killers on the Ducks team. Those are two guys that bleed shot attempts against and scoring chances against. So even though, yes, they do fit that role, quote unquote, they're not necessarily great players. So I would rather have a guy like a Max Jones out there than a Derek Grant or a Carter Rowney, and let him learn it at the NHL level. And so if there are other things, which is what I actually probably think are the reasons, they want him to go down to work on something else. Penalty killing's a part of it, but they want him to get top minutes. They want to do this. That's what would logically make sense to me. Saying it's only for penalty killing just doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. And also, just because Derek Grant and Carter Rowney, it's not even about the fact that maybe they're not the best penalty killers. It's also, why do they have to be the ones killing the penalties to begin with? If this Ducks season is truly all about development, then what's stopping the Ducks from putting Max Jones out there on the penalty kill? Yeah. So, I mean, I guess on the flip side, like you said, less pressure, but I just don't buy it. I'm sorry. We're not going to spend too much more time on that. So, that was one thing that was interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Comtois can do back up in the NHL. He has been pretty productive down in the AHL. He's piling up the assists, and of course, we all know how good Josh Mahura has been in limited action for the Ducks. But again, neither of them in the lineup tonight against this Washington team with a little bit of revenge on the line.
Yeah,
you know, we had Spitgate in the first matchup between these two teams. So a little bad blood there, a little bad saliva there between both teams.
It was also Star Wars night.
Okay. Yes.
I know that you really aren't playing into that at all, but it was nice to hear Star Wars music coming from the arena. And
agreed.
After the goals, they played Brohim, and then they had the Cantina music going. It was a very fun and different vibe to hear coming out of the TV.
Well, there is a new episode of The Mandalorian out, which I will definitely be watching.
I have already watched.
Stop recording, and you will not spoil. Thank you very much.
Or should I spoil on the Patreon episode we're recording right after this?
Negative.
Patrons.
Negative.
You'll get to find out.
Okay, well, let's carry on here. Let's carry on. So let's get into the recap, why don't we? Because this was actually a pretty interesting game. So halfway through the first period, the Capitals are controlling along the boards in the Anaheim zone. And mind you, this was, I believe, after Nick Ritchie had already left the game on a pretty scary collision with Radko Gudas. So kind of a weird play. Ritchie's just kind of watching his pass after dishing it off to the middle of the ice. And then Gudas just kind of bumps into him, gets his hip into him.
It's almost like he was going for a bit of a hip check, but didn't fully.
He definitely backed off of it. Yeah. Definitely backed off of it, and that would send Ritchie just flying into the boards. A really hard collision, and he would not return to the game. He was helped off of the ice. And I don't know, was it clear whether it was upper body, lower body?
It was clearly his knee, because he did not put any pressure on his left. I believe it was his left leg as he was being helped off the ice, and that's a big loss for this Ducks team. I mean, some people may not be as high on Nick Ritchie as you and I are, but he's a guy that's been a contributor for this team, and even outside of that, you're losing one of the guys on one of your top 9 forwards, so it's going to shuffle up the lineup throughout the entire game and really cause some interesting lines. And so it really is a big blow to this team, especially so early on. As for the play, I mean, let me know if you disagree. As much as your brain wants to go to it's Radko Gudas, so it's a dirty hit, I just think it was kind of a weird play, a weird collision. Yeah. Not anything really dirty. Maybe Gudas shouldn't have gone in for that hit at all, but I just think it was an awkward collision that happens when you're in a physical sport like hockey where you have guys going very fast.
Yeah, no, it wasn't dirty. I didn't see it that way. But after that, the Capitals would get the first goal of the game, like I was mentioning earlier, controlling down low. And then just a quick kind of bang play. I mean, the puck comes off of the end boards and quickly back out to the middle of the ice, and the Capitals are able to bang it home before Ryan Miller is able to get back to his post. And so this would make it 1-0 Washington. Travis Boyd getting that goal. Now, some people question Ryan Miller on this goal. Was he too slow? But personally, I think it's just such a perfect play by the Capitals. You very rarely see a play like this develop so perfectly to where not only is the pass is going low to high without anyone touching it, without any defender getting a stick on it, but also directly to a shooter who's able to get it on a tee right away. I mean, to me, it was just a perfect pass and a perfect shot. Maybe Miller could have been a little quicker, but to me, that's a legitimate scoring chance from the Capitals there.
Boyd scores that from basically below the goal line.
No, the pass came from below the goal line, but he got that shot off it right at the top of the circles.
Are we talking about the same goal?
Yes, this is the first goal of the game. You're saying basically below the goal line, and he's definitely not below the goal line. And to me, that's like a pretty binary thing. You're either below it or you're not. So, I don't know.
He's at the goal line then when he's
looking at it.
It goes under the left.
Looking at it again, I think you may have more of a point than I was letting on there.
It goes under Ryan Miller's left pad, hits his right pad from behind, and then deflects in.
Okay, well, look, if you want to say it's a bad goal, that's fine. Personally, I just didn't see it that way, but definitely an argument to be made that Miller could have gotten there earlier. I just don't think, I guess my argument is I just don't think it's your typical goal from a restricted angle that goes in. This happened in a quicker, more organized fashion than just, a guy throwing it from a sharp angle and it going in.
So I'm rewatching it right now real quick just to make sure that I'm not going crazy here completely. And my main issue with it's a bang play, no doubt about it. But the shot still comes from below the goal line if you watch it. And so Miller has to have his pad on the ice there. It goes underneath his left leg pad and hits the back of his right leg and goes in. That's a bad angle goal.
Well, of course he has to have his pad there. Like he has to have his pad on any shot that's coming. Of course, on any goal that goes in, he should have had his piece of equipment there.
A goal that's scored from below the goal line, I don't think it's that out of line to question whether it was a good goal or not. If it's shot from below the goal line.
Yeah, I just think that you're painting it too much with a broad brush. Not every play from below the goal line is created equal, and I think this isn't an easy save to make for the goaltender.
I'm not saying it is, but I also don't.
Well, you're basically saying just get your pad there, get your pad there,
fair,
and you'll stop it.
Fair. Fair.
Not to just be snide here, but I feel like we're
though you're being snide.
We're kind of reducing. We're not really appreciating how difficult of a save that is. Anyway, I don't know how this happened here, but let's move on. Now, if you want to have an issue with the goal that Ryan Miller let in tonight, I will absolutely give you, and I will even agree with you, and I will even push you onward. I will cheer you on if you criticize Ryan Miller for the second goal of the night that he let in, because this was not a good goal by any means. Capitals go to the power play 5 minutes into the second period, and just a routine-looking shot from Evgeny Kuznetsov at the top of the right circle. Really not much, if any, of a screen in front, and it just finds its way between the pads of Ryan Miller. He goes into that one pad down stance, trying to seal off the angle. I'm not really sure what the thinking was behind there. And it just kind of finds its way through. I mean, Kuznetsov is one of the shooters in the NHL who is a bit of a sneaky release and, might be a little harder to read. But I just think that Miller kind of misplays this one and it goes in. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't help that Corbett-Holzer is just floating in no man's land and isn't really doing anything. But
I mean, it doesn't help that the Capitals were on a power play there either.
Yeah, I mean, at the heart of it, that's probably an issue as well.
Yeah, that's an issue which we probably should talk about briefly because people are going to want to mention the officiating on the night, and so this is the first one where people probably started to become a little bit mad with the officiating. Let's go with that. Where Goodbranson tried to get into a fight with Garnet Hathaway What do you think his first name was last time the Ducks played the Capitals?
Oh, geez, I'm forgetting now.
Glenn Hathaway. Yeah, he tried to start a fight with Glenn Hathaway. He tried to start a fight though. Hathaway was not feeling it at that moment. I guess, who knows? Linesman jumped in because Goodbranson had dropped the gloves. Hathaway had not at that point in time. Once the linesmen were there, Hathaway then dropped his gloves also. I think that honestly the calls that were made were probably the right calls because Goodbranson drops his gloves first to try to start the fight. So maybe you could argue it should have just been coincidental minors for roughing. Both guys get 2 minutes and that's it. But I also don't mind them giving Goodbranson the extra 2 there for trying to start it when you can get mad about Hathaway not jumping in and not accepting the fight all you want, but the fact that you had one guy with his gloves off, one guy with his gloves on, the linesman has to jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that before the game, you pointed out that Goodbranson had mentioned how, it's not about the extra stuff, it's about getting the 2 points.
Here, let me get the quote for you, actually, because it's interesting when you compare it to what happened. Is in an article yesterday, the Eric Stevens had quotes from Goodbranson. He said, "I just want to get 2 points. That's really what it is. It takes time to learn it, but you try to leave what happens at the rink. We've got a big week here, and these are 2 huge points. It'll hurt more if we leave with 2."
Well, so if we take Eric Goodbranson at his word there, which I would say is a pretty big leap to make if you're going to take guys at their word with what they say to the media. He came in with the best of intentions, but however good those intentions were, they almost immediately vanished as this game went along.
Yeah, because if you say that, then you don't drop the gloves when a guy's not willing to fight you.
I mean, he didn't do anything to back that up.
No,
I would say.
Whether you want to argue,
and that's at times my issue with this Ducks team is I understand that when you feel. You feel aggrieved. You feel like something, a wrong has occurred. You want to stand up for yourself. You want to stand up for your teammates. That's part of the game.
Pick and choose the moment, though.
But yes, that's true, and I fully agree with that. But I also think that it can't look like you're almost taking precedence over everything else. At times, it just feels like this Ducks team is more interested in settling these little scores than doing the other things
than winning a hockey game. Because
well, you said it, not me.
Yeah,
so that's you thinking.
Well,
that,
because
not me at all.
Because, like I said, you can argue maybe whether an extra 2 was deserved, but Goodbranson put the ref in a position to make that call essentially, by dropping the gloves when Hathaway had not. Wait until Hathaway had dropped the gloves, and at the end of the day, the Ducks lost by a goal. That penalty that Goodbranson took directly led to a goal against for the Capitals' second goal. We can argue whether Miller probably should make that save or not, but that goal happens because they're on the power play, because of Goodbranson not having the discipline to wait to drop the gloves, to kind of trying to settle the score. And so basically his actions are in direct conflict with his quote.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's something that's just kind of a bit of a theme with these Ducks. Now, it felt like the Ducks were coming back, though. After that second goal, I thought that they stringed together some good offense, getting some good offensive zone work, and they even got a nice rush where Brendan Cooley brings it down, fans on a shot, and then gets it back over to Sam Steele, who one-times it home, and that would make it a 1-goal game, but immediately the referees found that the play was offside. Now, was this officially a coach's challenge?
Yes. It has to be.
So the Capitals challenged it for offside, and then from there, it was pretty clear that I believe Cam Fowler was offside on this play.
Yes.
And they ruled it no goal, but the Ducks did not sit on that for very long. With just about 3 minutes left in the second period, Adam Henrique tries to take it to the net. He gets stopped, and then the puck is loose in front of the Washington net. Troy Terry kind of just takes a little bit of a swipe at it. It somehow finds its way to the front of the net, and then Ryan Getzlaf just roofs it over the top of the blocker of Braden Holtby, and that would make it a 1-goal game. And so I thought that was a pretty important moment for the Ducks. It felt like, okay, that one didn't go their way. This game just isn't going their way. That one being the the disallowed goal. So I don't know. This was a pretty kind of big response from the Ducks.
100% because essentially like you said, everything felt like it was going against the Ducks, especially if you're on that bench. You feel like the refs are out to get you. You feel like the calls aren't going your way. You feel like not only are the penalties not going your way, but that the offside review negated a goal. And to have Ryan Getzlaf step up and score a goal like that, I mean, we've talked about, I think, how good he's been this season for the Ducks. But I think that goal kind of shows not only on the ice, but also just as a leader. That's a huge goal from that perspective, to almost lead by example in a way.
And one thing I did want to point out is that there was definitely a universe where he doesn't get to this puck. I mean, he really he saw the loose puck in the slot, took a couple good strides towards it, and jumped on it and scored. I mean, we don't talk a lot about hustle on this show. We try to stay more to things that we can truly measure, but that was a hustle play from Getzlaf. I mean, if you watch it, he could have easily tried to reach for it with a stick, right? Take the easy way out, but he got on his horse, got the puck, and got the Ducks on the board. So
also
10th goal of the season for Getzlaf, and he had 14 all of last year.
I claimed a 30-goal season for him, right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Are you feeling good about that?
I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling decent. But also, you forgot to mention who got the assist on Ryan Getzlaf's goal.
Well, Troy Terry managed to have his stick touch the puck
before this goal happened. He poke-checked it right into the slot.
He actually had his stick there to kind of block a pass, and it just kind of found its way in the front of the net. But it was a nice play from Terry. I mean, he's pressuring. We're at the point now with Troy Terry where we got to give him credit for just forechecking. So that's kind of where his season is at.
Wow. Just taking shots.
Am I wrong? Yeah, taking shots like Terry should be. Okay, on that note, we're going to take our first break. And on the other side of the first break, we are going to get into the rest of this recap. We will be right back. Okay, back from the first break. So, third period. Pretty exciting third period.
Yeah, and sorry, I know that you don't really want to talk about the officiating that much. I do want to make mention of this because it's a talking point, so I think it's something worth mentioning because people are going to want to hear this. Nick Delorier was also given a 10-minute misconduct at the near the end of the second period after having a fight with Radko Gudas. One can only assume that fight happened because of the Gudas hit on Ritchie. That honestly, I think that 10-minute misconduct happens because the game was starting to get out of hand a little bit. The refs probably went to both benches and probably told them the next person that steps out of line after a whistle is going to get a 10-minute misconduct to almost try to, because the Ducks broadcast crew, let's just put it lightly, were calling out the refs on the regular, saying they had lost control of the game. And so that is one way that you can try to get control of the game if you have quote-unquote lost control, is by telling them and basically setting the standards of this is what's going to happen if you step out of line. And Nick Delorier got in a fight, and then after the fight's over, Verona, for whether you want to say he instigated or not, but comes over and Delorier tries to grab him around a linesman. That is stepping out of line after a whistle. The refs had to back up what they said, gave him a 10-minute misconduct. That's my view of that play. And honestly, I feel like after that misconduct, the game settled. It really settled in.
There was a fight in the third period.
There were two moments, but I think for the most part, it was pretty tame from then on. Then it also, I don't have any inside knowledge that that's what happened, but that's my read.
I mean, Tom Wilson also cross-checked Carter Rowney to the throat.
Yeah, it's also because Tom Wilson is Tom Wilson.
Yeah, he's something else. But in the third period, though, I mean, 45 seconds into the third period, Adam Henrique gets on the board and ties it up. This time, it's a nice forecheck from Ryan Getzlaf and Andre Kasha. Getzlaf gets the puck back to Henrique, who shoots it short side on Braden Holtby. And, maybe not the best goal to allow here from Holtby, but it's still a nice, accurate shot from Adam Henrique. He's able to get it up top and over the glove, over the kind of shoulder of Holtby to make it a tie hockey game. And then after that, I mean, the Ducks would really do their best to put pressure on the Capitals. I mean, they poured it on if you just, look at the numbers in this period, but they just couldn't come back from some of their mistakes. And I mean, not even a minute after the tying goal from Anaheim, the Capitals are able to take back the lead. And this is a goal that, I mean, quite frankly, just didn't need to happen. It's a simple dump in from the Capitals. Ryan Miller goes to stop it behind his own net. And I mean, to call the passing attempt here from Brendan Cooley casual would be putting it mildly. I mean, barely picks his head up, just throws it into a crowd. Really no intention behind this play. I think he was just kind of in robot mode. And hey, I mean, that'll happen late in the game, whatever. I don't know, inexperience, whatever you want to chalk it up to. But this is just a blunder of a play. There's really no other way to put it. And it would go right back to Jakub Vrana, who then is able to pick the puck up. And Ryan Miller's barely back in his net at that point. And Vrana's in all alone. And that's the other frustrating thing. If you're evaluating goalie here, is that, okay, you make one mistake. Hey, it happens. Bad plays, brain farts. It happens to everyone in life, and it happens on the ice. But what can you do when that happens? Hey, you can simply get back in the play, get on your horse, and try to make up for it. And instead, he kind of just hangs out behind the net. Sure, the play happens quickly, but he's not anywhere close to Vrana on this goal, who goes forehand, backhand, and makes it 3-2 Washington. So, Brendan Cooley.
Real bad.
When are we gonna have the talk about Brendan Cooley? Because I think we're there.
Are we there yet?
He has had consistently awful numbers for, I mean, since the beginning of this. I mean, since like Game 5 of the season, since he came back from that initial injury, he's been awful.
I do want to see them put him back with Fowler.
Yeah, but I mean, if he's this bad, and not just statistically bad, but visually bad,
are we sure it's him though? He's been paired with.
Are we sure it's okay?
He's been paired with Holzer for a lot this season.
Well, did Corbin and Holzer do Jedi mind control on this play? Him turn it over? Fair point. Star Wars reference. Thought I'd throw that in there.
That was a good one. I'll give you props for that one.
I mean, he's made his own mistakes, and we've seen them.
That's fair.
Over and over. And I think that he's definitely contributing to those poor results. Yeah, obviously playing with Corbin and Holzer is not going to help. But watching the two together, I don't think that Holzer is just dragging down Brendan Cooley, infinitely into the netherworld. I think that Brendan Cooley is doing his part in that. And look, I mean, he's not out there trying to hurt his team or anything, but I just think right now he's a little out of his depth, and I don't think Corbin and Holzer is the guy to get him out of that, because Corbin and Holzer doesn't provide any stability. The problem with Cooley is that he himself, his game isn't mature enough yet to where no matter who's next to him, he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And so
and I think that he can really benefit. This is a situation where he could really benefit from going down to the AHL and getting some minutes down there. And
I legitimately think he would benefit from that at this point.
Yes, agreed. And they have Josh Mahura, who can come into the lineup and provide the minutes that and play the game that they kind of want. And we've seen Mahura. I mean, Mahura's been good when he's been with the Ducks this year.
Yeah, we've seen Josh Mahura in the small sample that we've seen him in. I think it's about 8 games. We've seen him do already far more than what Brendan Cooley has done almost. Well, I don't want to say at any point, but we've seen him do quite a bit. And, we've seen him be productive, and we've seen him put up those solid numbers that we look at. So
Josh Mahura has basically been what we expected Brendan Cooley to be this year.
Yeah. And, I'm not willing to just completely write off Brendan Cooley, but right now he is struggling, and there's just no getting around that. And that's tough for the Ducks, because I think that they were kind of banking on him, finding his stride and really being a contributor. We saw that for a very tiny portion of the season to start. And again, ever since he suffered that injury, went back down to San Diego, we just haven't seen that. So it's tough, because I think in an ideal world, the Ducks would prefer to have Josh Mahura developing as kind of a top pairing, power play quarterback guy down in San Diego. I don't think they prefer to have him up in the NHL this season. I think if there's one guy that maybe this organization would prefer to have in the AHL, it's probably Josh Mahura. And quite frankly, I don't disagree with that either.
Yeah, I don't either, but
especially with defensemen, where I think that defensemen, it's okay if it takes a little more time.
Yes, I think right now there is a bit of a glaring hole in that second unit, not having somebody at the point who can really help control it.
Well, here's the thing. This is also a question of balancing the present with the future. I don't think there's any harm in bringing up Josh Mahura. I mean, I think guys are going to learn more about playing in the NHL by playing in the NHL, right? I mean, you can certainly benefit from getting all that pro experience in the AHL. Like, I'm not against that at all. But if he's going to play in the NHL, that's not a problem either. So it just comes down to, are the Ducks comfortable with that? Because it seems like even with the season being about development, there's still a lot of instances where they favor veterans in their lineups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
real quick side thought right here, going on a bit of a tangent. With the fact that most likely Josh Manson's going to be coming back soon, so
that does change things.
One defenseman is going to be sent down. And also you add in the fact that Nick Ritchie's hurt, so they're most likely going to need to call up a forward. Do we see a situation where Brendan Cooley is sent down with Manson being activated? And if Nick Ritchie is indeed out, like I do expect after kind of that hit and how it looked, do we see Daniel Sprong get a chance?
Uh-oh. Is that Daniel Sprong's music?
Yeah.
I don't know. Tough to say. I mean, we're also forgetting that, maybe the biggest letdown of all of this is that Jacob Larson is down in the AHL right now. I mean, because
honestly,
part of this issue
should be.
I don't disagree, but I'm just saying, I think that the team probably saw him a little further along at this point. He's still only 21, I believe, or is he 20? No, he's 22. And he's going to be 23 this season. So doesn't quite have the same age-related, I guess, excuse as Cooley and Mahura might have. But yeah, I mean, looking though at the rest of this game, again, the Ducks poured it on late. There was a lot of physical play, fights, with Goodbranson and Hathaway finally doing the deed, finally dropping the gloves and getting a fight in. And then, we saw the scuffle there with Tom Wilson. So just not enough from this Ducks team when it was all said and done. But I think overall this was a pretty good game from the Ducks. I think that mistakes are going to happen. They tend to happen more often for the Ducks, it seems. But this is not a team that's just being outplayed, that's being outworked. When we saw the Ducks struggling last season, it was not at all like this. You saw the Ducks being totally outshot, being totally outchanced. Just it felt like almost there was at least a good period where they just didn't even have a chance at winning games. And I think they are competing in these games. And we really do have to start lowering our expectations of this team. But at the very least, you're seeing some good kind of under the surface level type stuff.
Yeah, and I think you look at some of the numbers on the night. If you eliminate, so the Capitals had an individual expected or had an empty net chance that because of it being an empty net shot had a 66% chance of going in. So if you eliminate that one, the Ducks actually had a higher expected goal total on the night than the Capitals did in all situations. So factoring in power play, penalty kill, all of those different things, the Ducks actually generated more chances and should have actually had a little bit more goals. Basically, it should have been, I believe, around 2.45-ish, something around there, to 2.51, with the Ducks having 2.51. And so overall, maybe this is a game where Ryan Miller played outstanding last game for the Ducks against the Kings. Tonight, on the other hand, if he's able to make one of those saves, it doesn't matter which one. One of those he probably should make. The Ducks tie this game and at least get a point out of it.
Here's my question to you about Ryan Miller. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for this?
Hit me with it. Let's go.
So what do we call this start from Miller? Decent start, or like good start, bad start, somewhere in the middle start?
Average
start.
Which is because the Capitals, like I said, 2.41 or so, because
make you the Capitals make you make mistakes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and they had a lot of really high chances. The thing is, like I said, the 3.05 that they have per money puck includes the 66% chance of the empty netter going in, which Ryan Miller is in the net for. So about 2.5 goals is what should have been given up tonight, and he gave up 3. So slightly below average.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So slightly below average, and then what do we make of the Tampa game where he played?
I don't think he was good in that game, mainly because I thought his rebound control was
bad start.
I thought his rebound control was bad in that game.
So I mean, I think this is the first time in a long time where we've seen 2 iffy to bad starts from Ryan Miller in a row.
No, he played against the Kings and played real well.
That's right. Why did I forget that game?
Seeing as I just mentioned it.
2 out of the last 3.
Fair.
So, I mean, I think that after a really strong start from him, he hasn't been quite as dominant as he has been in the past in his role, right? And that's only, I mean, like the LA game was definitely encouraging. I mean, we talked a lot about Ryan Miller's game on that show, but I also do think that, look, the Kings are not the Capitals. They're not the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're probably not even.
Well, we talked
like the level. Well, yes. Well, okay. I know what you're about to say. That yes, the Kings are a better 5-on-5 team. This and that, but the individual talent on that team,
fair,
in terms of what a goaltender is going up against, it's nowhere close.
Fair.
And so, if we probably average all this out, Ryan Miller's still probably a fine backup. But it's just odd to see him having these games because he has just been so good. It's probably one of those things that just goes underappreciated because when you don't have backup goaltending problems, you don't think about it at all.
Yeah.
But when you do have backup goaltending problems, it is a huge issue. And the Ducks haven't had that.
No.
The entire time Ryan Miller has been in Anaheim. And so when he has these types of games, it's just odd to see it because it feels so out of character for him.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, father time comes for everyone.
But is it even age related? I think it's just.
I think it's a mix. Happens. I think it's a mix. I mean, age related decline is a thing.
Goaltender aging curves make no sense to me. I mean, see
goaltending is voodoo.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, harder to understand for those who don't know what that means. So I mean, any kind of closing thoughts on this game here? I mean, any individual performances that stood out to you? How about this? Since I know where you're going to go, let's just do this, and maybe we might not do this for every show, but Terry watch.
Oh, I wasn't even going to go there.
Terry watch.
I wasn't even going to mention him. I thought he was fine.
He was fine. Okay. Yeah, I thought he was okay. I mean, he did create a couple chances for himself. He had one really nice toe drag move that I believe created or led to one of the Ducks' goals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had, or I think it might have been the disallowed goal. But regardless, or no, sorry, it was not the disallowed goal. It was a second goal. But regardless, I mean, he had an okay game. And, I thought Sam Steele had a goal that was taken away, but he looked all right as well. So, the Ducks kids, at least up front, were fine.
Well, and we've made mention of the fact that Dallas Eakins early on was really shuffling lines. At least coming into the game, obviously things had to change. But coming into the game, the lines were the same as last game.
Yeah, and what was interesting at the end of the game, and this is something that Eric Stevens pointed out, but they had Henrique and Getzlaf on the same line together.
Yeah, they had Henrique playing on the wing.
Which is something that I think that this team should do more of. I mean, when they're in late game situations, they should be stacking their lines a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, they don't exactly have a third center right now, but I've long held the thought that Henrique might be a better winger than he is a center.
Here's the issue, though. Even if that's true, who do you replace at center for him?
Like I said, that's the issue. Is maybe you call up Lundestrom if they're comfortable with him being a third line center.
Yeah,
but
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't know about that either. My point is that I think that Henrique on the wing actually looked good, and he looked more dangerous tonight on the wing than he has in a long time. Granted, you're playing with Ryan Getzlaf, and so that's going to happen. But we've seen a lot of guys play with Getzlaf, and Henrique looked the most dangerous out of all of them. And maybe, I mean, it all comes down to needing a third center. Maybe you put Devin Shore at center on the third line. Maybe that's the answer, and you put Henrique with Getzlaf and Terry.
Here's what is interesting. If you read 31 Thoughts this week, the Ducks have been in the mix, I don't know how recently, for Sam Bennett in Calgary.
Yeah, and
who would pretty much fit to a T the role that you're describing there.
yeah,
So I think that this is an issue that the front office is probably pretty aware of.
yeah, and I haven't actually read 31 Thoughts, but I listened to the podcast this week where Elliot Friedman mentioned that. And on the podcast, he made mention that those are just teams that have been interested in the past that may have tried to get him cheaper than they could have. And so he's speculating maybe they'd be in the mix for him still. But overarching thoughts on this game outside of you bringing up, actually, Terry, not me.
Terry watch.
Want to point that out?
Because I just know it's going to happen.
Nope,
so
wasn't actually going to mention it.
I'm just preparing the runway for your landing.
No, my overall thoughts are I thought this was a pretty good performance against a really good Caps team. The Holzer Cooley pairing was really bad. And this is now multiple games where we've seen Corbin and Holzer.
We have hard evidence that this pairing does not work.
And the thing is that Holzer is just such a drag. Like it's really bad. Anytime he's on the ice, the Ducks are getting shelled. And it's not good. It's really, really not good for the Ducks. And the fourth line was fine tonight, I guess. I
actually thought this was one of their better games.
Yeah, I think so also.
They had some chances, especially late.
Yeah, but I think, honestly, at the end of the day, the thing is this was a good performance from the team. The main issue was Goodbranson and the Ducks needed to take his own advice.
Well, I also think a big issue, and we're running up on time here into our second break, but another issue was that I think Nick Ritchie getting hurt really threw the lines out of whack.
True.
And I know that people don't want to believe that losing Nick Ritchie is going to hurt because it's, for some reason, that's insulting. Like, Nick Ritchie can't possibly be that important. And I've got news for you. A, he is that important. And B, he's also that good. Like, his importance to this team is warranted.
He might be the fourth best forward on the team.
It's not because this team is bad or anything like that. It's because he's earned that spot. He's earned that respect. And I don't know. Just please respect Nick Ritchie. Put some respect on his name.
Do we need to change it from Nick Ritchie is all right to Nick Ritchie is good?
No, we need to change it to Nick Ritchie's deserving of your love and respect.
That doesn't work. That's way too long. No, but
okay.
Wait,
well, hopefully, what will not be too long is our second break here. So we'll go into that, and we will be right back. Okay, back from the second break. Okay. So, I think we've gone over the issues of this game, reasons to be optimistic. One thing that I did want to mention, we've got a little bit of breaking news on the pod here. Dallas Eakins did not have an official update on Nick Ritchie. This is per Eric Stevens, but said that it does not look very good. So that's your hard-hitting breaking news. But I mean, it makes sense if it's a knee issue. Especially on that type of collision, no weight being put on it, that's probably not going to look good.
Yeah, big loss. Very, very big loss.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it seems like every time the Ducks get a big injury this season, it's a knee. It's not just like, a tweak or something like that.
Here's the thing. This is now a very big opportunity for Max Comtois, for Max Jones, for potentially a Daniel Sprong.
It's almost eerie that the Ducks called up Max Comtois before this injury, and now he's basically going to be filling that role.
Well, and
natural.
You also have Devin Shore still playing on the top line. Are they going to want to keep that going? I would really like to see Daniel Sprong get called up and thrown into that position.
I would also prefer. I mean, Devin Shore. I think he's a useful player. We sang his praises at the beginning of the season, but
he should not be with Ryan Getzlaf.
He looks a little, again, out of his depth on that line with Getzlaf and Terry. I mean, it's a bit of a shock to see that line's numbers be as poor as they were tonight. I mean, granted, Getzlaf had a goal and had an assist, so it's not like that
line wasn't together for that many minutes, honestly.
Yeah,
because of the shuffle in the lineup.
But it's still just odd. It's still just kind of, it feels funny.
Sample size.
Yeah, sample size. Okay, well, any last notes, or should we potentially get into some questions if we have any?
Let's get into some questions. So, For those of you watching the recorded version of this on YouTube, yes, we do post the show on YouTube. And if you want to go subscribe to the channel and hit that bell, you'll get notified anytime a channel comes up. And if you want to like the video, comment, I'll check out the comments there. It really does help out a lot. But if you're watching there, we also do the recorded version if you're listening there at all of the favorite podcast services. But the real fun thing here is our Twitch stream. You can find us at twitch.tv/acpod. Which is where you can interact with us live. You can subscribe to the channel. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime sub each and every time. And with that Twitch Prime sub, you help support the show and keep the lights on here in both mine and Felix's recording studios. Let's call them a studio for now. If the subscribe button, yes, Felix was pointing up. It is above his head. And with that subscription, you will get special emotes in the chat, a special badge next to your name, and if we are on a busier night with a lot of questions, we will prioritize your questions. So I do want to make mention, Dan Grimshaw resubscribed for 2 months in a row and said finally got to catch us live from the jump. So thank you so much. And El Miko's resubscribed for 3 months in a row. So thank you guys
thank you
much. So we have a couple questions off the hop that we can jump into. One from our good buddy Sean, the Hardcore Luchador, that said, question, is this the least amount of talent/skill that you have ever seen on an NHL roster? Not pulling any punches there from Sean.
I like it. I like the aggressive approach. I'm going to say no. I don't think so. I mean, this team doesn't register with me in that way, that this is a team just so bereft of talent.
They still have Ryan Getzlaf.
They still have Ryan Getzlaf. They still have Cam Fowler. They still have Ricard Raquel. I mean, there's just too many guys.
Look at the Ottawa Senators.
Exactly. But, you so diplomatically stating earlier, this is not a cup contender. Yeah, they're not a cup contender. And it's looking less and less likely that they're going to be playoff contenders. And so that's okay. I mean, this season is like, the Ducks have been in a very competitive cycle now for the better part of the last decade. I mean, really, pretty much the entire decade. The Ducks have been a very competitive team, and this is going to happen. I mean, it's not the norm in the NHL for teams to be so good for so long, so consistently competitive. So yes, this season does feel like it, such a far cry from what we've witnessed in for the last few years. But, this is part of it. This is how you get back. You take your lumps now, but you get back eventually.
Tonight's game is the perfect game. Bonnie's going to hate me for saying this.
Yes, I love this.
Bonnie's going to hate me for saying this. I'm not pro tank because I'm just kind of along. This year, I'm just along for the ride. What happens, happens. But the Ducks played well. They also improved draft odd chances. If you want to start, if you care about that and start getting into that. So,
well, we did our tankathon last season, and I don't want to get anyone's spirits down because I mean it's not even Christmas yet. I don't want to get the holiday mood down, but the Ducks are 6th in draft lottery odds to win the draft lottery at 5.4%. So,
hey,
start your simulations now, folks.
Here's the thing: they do have a better chance of making the playoffs than winning the draft lottery.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that they have 20 right now. Money Puck has them at 25% to make the playoffs, which isn't super high either.
And
it's down there with Chicago.
I feel like I saw someone tweet that both Quinton Byfield and Alexis Lafreniere had 5 points tonight.
Yeah, so this is a good year to sit out. Good year to sit out of the race.
Someone in our Twitch chat both said tank for Hughes and fire Carlisle.
And honestly, the race to the bottom, it's going to heat up in the coming months. I mean, the Kings...
It's going to heat up.
It's going to heat up. I mean,
no,
look,
it's not. Detroit's going to finish it. That's the shocking thing.
Detroit is insanely bad.
Detroit is so bad.
And remember when they won their first 5 games or something like that? And everyone was saying,
horrible.
Oh, look at the line of Anthony Mantha and Tyler Bertuzzi. Look at the improvement of this hockey club.
What's
and then
the goal
it's
differential now?
Oh, it's historically bad. I mean, they're down there with the 14-15 Sabres, who did an epic tank job with Tim Murray as their GM. So it's just funny to me. Like, this is why I kind of hate.
They're minus 56.
Yeah, they're insanely bad. But this is why I kind of hate the very beginning of the season, because the Red Wings came out looking decent, and they were getting a lot of goals from Anthony Mantha, and everyone was talking about, Look at the small little moves they made to turn this thing around, and here we are. And now they are who we thought they were. Terrible. Also, Philip Zadina.
Wait, sorry. One thing that I did want to look up really quickly.
That's too much Red Wings talk. Sorry.
No, it popped into my head. The Red Wings, like I said, minus 56 on the year in terms of goal differential. For instance, the Ducks last year, over the course of the entire season, minus 52.
Oh, that hurts me.
The Kings last year were minus 61, and the Ottawa Senators, who are the worst team, were minus 60. Well,
if they have Jimmy Howard and Jonathan Bernier.
Oh, I know that we have some Red Wings that listen. Justin, I'm sorry. I
mean, hey, Jonathan Bernier is a friend of the show, former Ducks backup.
Oh, I more meant the fact that their minus 56 goal differential is. Well, they're almost at the goal differential. They have a worse goal differential right now than they did than at the end of last year.
I know that we're talking a lot about the goal differential, but one of my favorite things is that the Red Wings definitely had an opportunity to. He's hurt right now, but they definitely had an opportunity to trade Jimmy Howard, and they never took it. And how's that looking right now?
Yeah.
Not great.
All right, so let's get back into some questions. So we had this one from Ginger Wolf said, would you guys consider this game good Branson, very good Branson, or not very good Branson?
Well, this is like a peak good Branson game. He's basically in 2 fights. He's pushing people around. He's landing a couple big hits. Again, we've kind of made a lot of jokes about good Branson, but he's been good lately. I don't know how else to put it. The pairing tonight on the whole did not have great numbers, but they were holding their own. They were not the issue tonight, the main issue. So I'm not ready to say hashtag Eric Goodbranson deserves your love and respect, but maybe he's getting there. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe the years of data that we had were just totally wrong.
Maybe. All right, so here we go. We got another question from Stevie D. Said, question, do you think Aikens ever addresses all these penalties the Ducks take?
Doesn't seem likely. If it hasn't happened yet, maybe it'll happen eventually.
Hopefully.
Instilling a culture of discipline takes time.
Yeah, let's go with that. Bonnie asked, did the Empire strike back?
Who is the Empire here? That's what I want to know. I think Alex Ovechkin is a good Darth Vader.
Oh, I more just meant like in general from Star Wars. Of course, the Empire struck back, but eventually the Jedi won. The Rebels won.
Yeah, but then the First Order came around.
Yeah, but there's always going to be evil things that pop up.
Or maybe the new trilogy just has arbitrary things to resemble the original trilogy to make it more watchable. Something to consider.
Wow. Shots fired. I like the new trilogy. By the way,
it's fine.
I enjoy it.
A lot of it hinges on this upcoming movie for me.
Fair. Hey yo, DFLO said, question, are we being too harsh in counting the Ducks out of the playoffs? They have been much more competitive in the last 5-6 games and competed with the best team in the NHL tonight. So I don't think they're out of the playoff race. I don't.
They're not. 25% odds, if we're kind of taking that at face value, that means 1 out of 4 times you're making it.
Yeah, and I don't.
That's not some terrible place to be in.
And I don't think either of us are counting them out, because as of right now, looking at, they're currently 4 points out. Here's the big issue with the Ducks is that every team's kind of in it right now, besides maybe the Kings. You look at the Western Conference standings. So Minnesota has the second wild card with 32 points. The Ducks have 28 points. The issue is they are the second worst team in the conference right now.
And the problem for the Ducks also is that it appears, again, this could very much change with the bad losing streak, but it kind of appears like a spot in the Pacific Division standings, making it in the top 3 is looking a bit out of reach. They're 7 points back of the Golden Knights.
For the third spot. They're 10 and 11 points back of Arizona and Edmonton, and making up.
Exactly. So that means that they're going to have to make it through the wild card, and the wild card, there's a lot of teams in front of them.
And here's the issue with that is, yes, there's potential for Edmonton or Arizona to drop 10
off. I would say Edmonton for sure.
Potentially Arizona. Arizona's underlying numbers have not been great as of late, and they've been buoyed by great goaltending. But
True.
it's potential for both those teams to fall off and for the Ducks to make up the 10 to 11 points along with them losing the 10 to 11 points. The issue there is that you have Vancouver, San Jose, and Calgary all above the Ducks that also need to. So there's a whole lot of things with the Ducks at this point where they're at that have to go their way. It's, yes, obviously they hold all the cards still because it's so early, but it's becoming less and less likely. But
Right.
I don't think either of us are counting them out. They definitely still have a chance, but I put it at 1-4. I think that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough right now. It's tough. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah. So, Ginger Wolf asks, question, Jake, do you still believe that the move to improve the blue line is to hang on to the youth, or should the Ducks start to make some moves at this point? I don't know if maybe I have. Sorry if I'm not remembering. I don't know if I've ever said that they shouldn't make a move to improve the blue line. My view on it is that they need to wait for the right move.
Let me ask you this. What is the right move in your head? Like, what does that look like? What are the pieces going out?
I think the right move is going to be getting a young 22 to 23-year-old defenseman, maybe 24, whether right-hand shot, left-hand shot, doesn't really matter. Try to get someone along those lines that can develop with your team and is a somewhat high profile and can maybe become your number one, maybe top pairing or second pairing.
Well, yeah, I want a Ferrari too.
Yeah, sorry. I shouldn't have said number one, but top pairing. I think, well, and the thing that's frustrating is we just saw one of those guys get traded that could potentially turn into a top pairing guy in Julius Honka. Potentially.
Well, we didn't see him get traded, first of all.
Yeah, we did.
He got traded?
Yeah,
Did
it's
I
in
miss
New
that?
Jersey.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I didn't see that happen.
Yeah.
Because I saw that he didn't re-sign by the specific target date.
Oh, he didn't?
Okay.
Oh, I missed that then. So he can't play this year.
He's not playing this season.
Got it.
So it doesn't matter.
I missed that actually then.
Yeah. Okay, that makes me feel better.
But how old is Rasmus Ristolainen now?
He is not the answer, and I believe he's like 26.
Okay, yeah, he's too old, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you need to be looking for someone
here's my issue with what you're saying.
Wait, real quick. Let me just say this in terms of the age thing. The thing that you want is the issue is a lot of the Ducks defense right now are in their 28, 29 range, and the Ducks forwards are all in this specific range. And I don't know if at this point Brendan Cooley or Josh Mahura are going to become the answer. And so as the general manager, you want to go get a guy that will have his contending window line up with those other guys, with all the forwards.
Here's my issue with that line of thinking is, and this is the drawback of the improving from the outside theory, is that those guys don't become available. The guy you're describing.
No, that's true.
Like the guy you're describing, teams lock him up long term.
The guy that they should have, granted, who knows if he would have signed here if they had traded for him. The guy they should have gone hard after was Jacob Trouba.
I'm actually less high on that than I used to be. His numbers were not as. They weren't.
Still think he would have helped this team out significantly.
He would have. He fit the mold that you're describing better, but he's still.
I'd be curious if somehow.
Anthony Trouba is 25 going on 26 this season.
I'd be really curious if Tony DeAngelo becomes available.
Well, here's the thing.
With the cap situation that New York has.
The guys that are going to be available or that teams are willing to trade, there's usually a reason that they're available, and that's not always necessarily a positive one.
No, but the guys you want to try to find and maybe try to poach are guys that may become a cap casualty situation.
Yeah, but again, so all I'm trying to say is that the outside improvement angle is very difficult to actually achieve. And so if you look internally to kind of get back to the question, I think there's going to be a point where the Ducks are going to have a decent homegrown blue line, because I think Manson, Lindholm, and Fowler, we can kind of leave that. And I think that trio is going to be fine for probably the next 3 seasons, like at least, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe 2.5. And then I think Josh Mahura will grow into a top 4 guy eventually. Maybe it's way early to say that, but I'm starting to see it. And then after that, I think one of their other young guys is going to come out of the fray, whether it's a Cooley, whether it's a Simon Benoit, Maybe it'll even be a Jacob Larson. Someone comes out of that. And I think that at some point they have to rectify their veterans in the third pairing. I don't think Holzer's going to be around long term. So they might just improve internally. I'm not putting that past them either.
Yeah. Let's get to this question. From the Hardcore Luchador said, this team is so thin. The loss of... Sorry, wasn't really a question from Sean. More so just a comment. So moving on, different question from CVD. He said, what's your favorite NHL visiting team uniform? You can't pick the Habs.
Visiting team uniform.
Visiting to Honda Center. Let's go with that. What's your favorite team's road sweater?
I really like the Wild's away sweater. I think it's the Wild have always had good jerseys, and that's one of their better ones.
Sure. You know what? I'm gonna say that I like the Oilers white sweater.
Yeah,
to be
it's
honest.
a good one.
It's a good one. It's clean.
Fair.
Very clean, very good look. They should
Canucks as well.
Go away from the orange.
No? Yes, agreed.
Georgie Kahn said, question, did Byfuglien retire or something? So that's a really complicated situation. I know he's bringing it up because of the potential for maybe the Ducks to try to go after Dustin Byfuglien. First off, Byfuglien's kind of old at this point, and by kind of, he's pretty old. But he's in a situation where he just had surgery, and there's basically an ongoing dispute between him and the Winnipeg Jets over whether the fact he should be getting paid his salary or not. And so there's a big dispute kind of going on there. Who knows what the result's going to be of it? Who knows if he even wants to keep playing? Like I said, he's injured right now. So I don't know. Was there a timeline on when he would be back even?
Nope. Open timeline.
Yeah, but it seems like he doesn't exactly want to play for the Jets anymore. But for what the cost would probably be, it probably wouldn't be worth it.
No.
So, let's end with this real quick. Bonnie asked us, when will we hear about Kessler's future? I don't think we're going to.
I think he will fade into the sunset.
I think it's going to be a situation like every other guy on LTIR where you don't hear about it until the contract is over.
Do you think that Ryan Kessler's contract will stay on Anaheim's books until the end of the contract, the duration of the contract?
Yes.
Really?
You think it gets moved?
I mean, it could.
Yeah, I don't
Marian
see
Hossa, Pavel Datsyuk.
I don't see the Ducks being a team doing that and trading picks for that.
Yeah, well, because that would probably involve them being buyers.
Or being in a cap bind.
Yeah, which none of those things seem really likely. Okay, so any last thing you want to throw in here?
Nope. I think that is probably going to do it for me on the night. Although, even though I say that, we're about to sit down and record our Patreon episode. Yeah, and speaking of Patreon, if you are enjoying our regular shows, if you enjoy the back and forth, if you enjoy the tangents, if you just enjoy the show, if you can't get enough, well, I've got good news for you. You can get more. So for $1 a month, you will be able to participate in our patrons-only Discord chat, which on most nights, the majority of nights, game nights, in-game, we have that patron-only chat where we are going to go back and forth about the game, have instant reactions. It's a lot of fun. I think it's a neat little feature. And for $1 a month to support your favorite show and to get a little benefit from it, maybe you don't have that many friends who are super into hockey, then, hey, I mean, why not do it? And then for $5 a month, this is where it gets really fun. I think if you're a fan of the show, you get 2 bonus episodes, like Jake mentioned, we're about to record. And these episodes are a lot broader in their scope of topics. So we get into the rest of the league. We talk about different player rankings, team rankings. We do show reviews. We just do it all. I mean, it's really the Swiss Army knife of Patreon podcasts. So that's at patreon.com/acpod. Highly recommend that you do that. As Jake already mentioned, I'm just going to repeat it one more time here. If you're enjoying the recorded version of this podcast, and maybe you have a free 30 minutes to an hour after a game, you want some post-game content, well, we do a live version of this show after every game, and that's at twitch.tv/acpod, and you can help support the show there as well. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free Twitch Prime subscription. Now, also,
a free way to support the show. No money involved here, just a little bit of your time, but it's a long-lasting contribution. You go to Apple Podcasts and you can leave a review and a rating. And also, if you're on Apple, make sure to subscribe to the show. But by leaving a review, a couple things happen here. A, lets us know how you're feeling about the show, what we're doing well, what we could potentially improve. But B, I mean, it really is just good to hear feedback. It's good to know that what we're putting out there is being received and hopefully is hitting home. And also, thirdly, I mean, it just helps us in terms of climbing up those rankings on Apple. It helps us, get more exposure. So it's just a little bit of your time, takes 2 to 5 minutes, but it is extremely long lasting. And then, of course, a couple other ways you can support us. Just, again, subscribe on Apple. You can also listen on Spotify. Hey, if we were part of your year recap on Spotify Prime, congratulations. If we were in your top 5 artists of the year, top 5 podcasts, well, yeah, send us a screenshot. Send us a screenshot of that. I'd be very curious.
Tag us.
If we landed at anybody's top there. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Check us out there. Hit the bell icon to get notified when our videos go up, and also subscribe. And then, of course, we are also on Stitcher. Check out Jake on Twitter. He's a good follow.
Yeah.
At Reindeer Games 91. The occasional / constant soccer tweets.
There has not been a soccer tweet in a while.
There hasn't. Well, Tottenham, I mean, last I checked.
We lost this week to Man U. Although we did win our first 3 games under Jose Mourinho. I still hate it.
That must be weird to say for you. Yes.
Yeah, I had to second guess.
I'm on Twitter at Felix_Sicard. Make sure to check out AnaheimCalling.com and at Anaheim Calling on Twitter. That is going to do it for us tonight, guys. Set your alarm clocks because on Sunday, the Ducks play at noon against the Winnipeg Jets. So we are going to be going live early post-game that day. So make sure to tune in. We will talk to you then. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.